So I think it's a profound contradiction, but maybe it's not that complicated. I know there are a lot of folks who say, what's going on with some of these Silicon Valley folks veering into Trump world with JD Vance and backing Trump? What are they thinking? Silicon Valley is supposed to be, they're supposed to care about climate. They're supposed to be, pro-science and rational and libertarians. So normally libertarians don't like authoritarians. What's up with that? I think it's actually, we've made it way too complicated. It's super simple. These are very rich men who have decided to back the Republican Party that tends to do good things for very rich men.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And by the way, that's kind of what you're getting with. That's kind of what you're getting with JD, right? So I knew a lot of people like him when I got to Harvard. I found a lot of people like him who would say whatever they needed to get ahead. And 5 years ago, that seemed like being the anti-Trump Republican, so that's what he was. Talked about how he was unfit, how he was cynical, called him an opioid, which is kind of a weird thing to say about a person, but definitely a really... But I mean, for somebody whose identity is that they're connected to Appalachia, which has an opioid crisis, that really is the darkest thing you could possibly say about Donald Trump, at least in public. But behind the scenes, apparently, he's actually calling him Hitler, right? Seriously. 5 years later, the way he gets ahead is that he's the greatest guy since sliced bread. And I actually watched this exact same process with somebody else I got to know in my days in the Midwest, which was my former governor, Mike Pence, who I watched start out as an evangelical Christian who cared about rectitude and family values, and then get on board with a guy who was mixed up with a porn star, make excuses for him, so that he could have power. And then he did. He got 4 glorious years, I guess, as Vice President of the United States. And it ended on the west front of the Capitol with Trump supporters proposing that he be hanged for using the one shred of integrity he still had to stand up to an attempt to overthrow the government.
Right.
So I guess, maybe not as a politician, but as a human being, what I'll say is that I hope things work out a little bit better for JD Vance than they did for Mike Pence.
That was Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg doing what he does best, and that is speaking the truth, dropping a devastating truth bomb on both Donald Trump and his new running mate, JD Vance. And I think Pete really said it all there, that Donald Trump and JD Vance both are looking only to serve themselves and to serve their rich friends, wealthy corporations, who they will be writing big tax cuts for if they win the White House, which they will not, because we are going to be in their way, stopping them at the ballot box. But another important thing that I always talk about on this show is that, JD Vance really has shown who he is in the last 8 years. In 2016, when he called out Donald Trump for having no character, being a threat to democracy, being dangerous, he was right. But fast forward 8 years, and now he's Donald Trump's running mate. And so what does that say about JD Vance? It says, well, he's the same as Donald Trump. He, too, has no character. He, too, will do anything to benefit himself and get ahead and push his career forward. That's what he cares about. He cares about serving himself. And that was such a perfect description from Pete Buttigieg, calling him out, identifying the type of person that they both are. They really fit well together in a dangerous way, of course, but we need to reject that, of course, at the ballot box. And that's why it is so important that we vote for President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And Pete Buttigieg gave an incredible endorsement, a really powerful statement saying just that. But before we get to it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you end up liking this video, hit that thumbs up and give us a like. It really means the world to me. And we are building such a great movement here. But let's just go ahead and get into that awesome endorsement of President Biden from Pete Buttigieg. So let's check it out.
But you showed up. But having said that, can we get serious about Joe Biden? Could I get you tonight to join the list of people? It's going to be everybody at some point who said...
No.
Okay. Yeah, he's got balls, this guy. I got to say it.
I'm here because I believe in Joe Biden. And let me just... I get it, all right? I didn't come here to say he's not 10 years older than he was 10 years ago, or deny that sometimes he mixes up names, as Donald Trump does, and sometimes said this name when he obviously meant that name. But the thing about Joe Biden is he's really good at being president. And you can tell because the things we need presidents to do are the things that he's best at, like delivering infrastructure and defending women's rights and fostering economic growth at a level that we haven't seen under any president in my lifetime. One of two things is going to happen in November. We're either getting Donald Trump or we're getting the Democratic candidate, who is Joe Biden. And those are radically different futures. And I know which one of those two futures I'm prepared to live in, that I want for my children to be growing up in. And
in that moment is delivering a message that we have not heard enough of and that we need to hear more of. Joe Biden is the greatest president of my lifetime. He is one of the greatest presidents ever. He has been historic in every aspect. He has delivered for all generations, but especially he has delivered for my generation, Gen Z. He has delivered a brighter future and a country in which we can envision coming together and uniting and restoring the soul of this nation in a way that didn't really seem possible during the Trump years. And that's why my generation is going to turn out and vote for him and vote for Democrats up and down the ballot. And Pete is absolutely right. There are two different futures being laid out by these two different men, and we know which direction will bring us forward. And Pete articulates that in a different way, but in a way that I think is incredibly important in this next clip. So let's check it out.
To do the job.
The more we're talking about him,
And that's not going to get better.
the more we're talking about him or we're talking about Donald Trump, we look past the fact that this election isn't about one of these two people. It's about all of us. It's about the country.
Well.
And most people in this country want continued economic growth. They agree with Joe Biden's economic policies. They disagree with Donald Trump's agenda of tax cuts for the rich. Most people agree with Joe Biden on defending a woman's right to choose and disagree with Donald Trump's decision to terminate the right to choose in this country, which is what he did. On issue after issue after issue, Americans are going to be better off. And our job, I think, certainly my job when I'm in campaign mode and not doing my day job, my most important message is to draw people back to those very different choices that we face.
Obviously, the difference in the character of a JD Vance and a Donald Trump compared to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris is stark. It is a stark contrast and tells us everything we need to know about why we are turning out in November. The people that we are electing, even before the policy, the people that we are electing. But let's talk about the policy. The policy of the Biden-Harris administration has moved us forward in historic ways. Investments in education, infrastructure, battling climate change, lowering prescription drug prices. This has been a historic administration. And their policies will continue to push us forward. Their agenda will continue to push us forward if we continue to elect Democrats. And so our election in November and what we're focused on, sure, it is about Donald Trump and Joe Biden, but it's also about so much more. It is about the future. It is about who is going to be on our Supreme Court. It is going to be about how we are tackling climate change. It's going to be about how we are investing in education and infrastructure and moving this country forward. And of course, Joe Biden is the best person to do that. But Pete is right. This is about so much more than just this election. It's about preserving our democracy and building our country more so that we can continue to move forward. And he is just the best, articulating that message, pushing that message out. And that is why on this channel, we love Pete Buttigieg. He is just absolutely the best. And if you too love Pete and you want to see more of him, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure that you drop a like, a thumbs up on this video. It really helps us grow. And we are growing so fast. It is such an incredible movement that we are building right now. If you are a new subscriber, I always say this, but also if you are an old subscriber and you just want to say hi, you haven't said hi in the first time, make sure to drop me a comment saying that you are a new subscriber or you've been around for a week or so. I want to thank you for your support because it really does mean the world to me. And we are building such a fast-growing movement here. It is so incredible to see, and it really does mean the world to me. I am so excited about where it's going to go, and I will see y'all next time.